Hello, storytellers. I want to talk about the power of faith in For the Lord RPG role playing game. And this works for Dark Ages, for the apocalypse coming up in Christians in Space. Because the clergy, we all have faith and blessings, and we absolutely believe in this. And the power of prayer. Let me do the power of prayer real quick. So, generally, before a mission, you can encourage your kids, your missionaries, to do a prayer. And you can give them a little bit of a bonus, like a plus D4, plus D6 if they do really well. Make sure they do have brevity, just a few lines kind of a thing. But so the power of prayer is what's cool about it is that I have this thing called the die rank result, the DRR. So if you roll and they get their spirit, which is like wisdom, and then they get their, if they have a prayer skill, because you can upgrade and do a prayer skill, and they can even add their own blessings to it. So they could get a lot of die ranks included in there. And I'm like, yeah, you can spend your faith, your spell. I'm going to use D&D terms just because, you can use your spell like bless thing to even add to that. And so you combine all those die rings together. So if there was a D4 and a D6, okay, it would not be a D4 and a D6. It would be D4 and then D6 is D4, D6. So that's 2. And then the other D4 is there. 3, so that's D4, D6, D8. It's based on ranks. Here, let me just show you real quick. So these are the ranks here. So D4, and D6, D8, D10, D12. So when you add different die rank bonuses to it, you combine them. If there's 3 of them, it goes up to D8. And then it goes up to D12. Beyond D12, what I've done is you have to get the amount of the die rank beyond D12. So if they go D12, if they get 5 ranks, let's say they get 7 ranks altogether. They get, do their bless. They use their inspired die rank. You get those as well, like inspiration points. And it combines to 7 die ranks. Okay. So they get the D12 and then they cannot get the D4 because you need 4 total additional die ranks. So they would need to get to 9 die ranks to get the D12 and a D4. Okay. So I make it harder to get the second die rank. And the only time it's easy to get the second die rank is if it's holy or demonic, like, when you get to that kind of stuff. And that's, all right, let me get back to, let me not digress too much. So when you get above a 12, usually I say a 12, when they get above a 12, whatever result of that, all those die ranks in the D20 in their spirit, let's say that our total is 18. So that's 6 above 12. So then that would be a D6. So everybody gets a D6 for this mission, like it's an inspired rank. And I would only have them allow prayer like at the beginning of a mission, when it feels right. They can't just do it all the time or before every encounter. They can't do it like that. Like I would just explain that at the beginning. Do it at the beginning of a mission, but not like you don't get to do this all the time. You just do it, for you can still pray, but you don't get the bonus to it. Or if you're, if it's kids or whatever and they prayed right before, say in a tense encounter, I would just give them a D4. If they get above the 12, I wouldn't worry about the DRR, the die rank result. I would just give them a D4, like just a little power of prayer bonus. And this is the power of prayer rule right here. Okay, so let's go to that's sort of one part of Christian blessings, and this is like to me historical. Like this kind of I'm trying to represent what I feel like the advantage Christians had over pagans in Europe, and based on what I'm reading, I always like to touch my face, which is not good. But the missionaries back then really were they had this faith and blessings and prayer that really seemed to elevate them above the pagans. And the pagans were very dispersed or despondent, and they relied on pageantry and theatrics and magic and illusion, whereas the Christians that came in just said, my faith, that was it. That's all they needed. They didn't need anything else. They came in, in humble robes and all that, and didn't even, based on what I've been reading. Okay, so let me go over the power of faith. The power of faith, first you get faith points. And the faith points are based on your spirit, and you can upgrade it with, when you get glory points, you could buy a D4, then a D6, then a D8, then D12, or D10, then D12. And every time you come into an encounter, every time there's as long as there's like a 5 minute difference between, or you can be nice and just let them have it. But every time there's a new encounter, whether it's combat or like dealing with the mob, it's an intense encounter, whatever it is, they get their full faith points. So if a cleric will have a +5 on spirit, so they get 5 faith points. And then let's say they've done an upgrade of D4. So they roll the D4, they roll a 2, so they get 7 faith points for that encounter. Okay, so that's how that works. And then they also get a separate faith points for the day or for that session where they do relaxing things. Like maybe the nun will need to heal someone in between, or they want to do a prophecy, or they want to do what else? Or they want to preach, and then preach to the people in a normal, not an intense mob situation, but in like a civil court or civil market, where they want to preach to people, that they have the same amount of faith points for the day because they're more relaxed, they're more doing stuff. And then, and that's the thing, there's no adrenaline rush, right? So there's no, spiritual intensity there. It's so they get 1 faith points for the day, and then 1 and don't mix them up either. Don't allow them to, like, say in a combat situation, give themselves whatever so that they can use it for the other, for the relaxed thing. They're separate. And once your combat is done, everything is goes back to normal. And so now how does it work? And I'm going to go to another, this is how it explains it, but I've made everything dense because my thought in this process of making it dense on every page was to it's almost like these are DM screens. And I've only got, sorry, I'm kind of going off a little bit, but I really this is all the weapons and gear, all on 2 pages, like kind of the basics, combat and actions, all on 2 pages, including the denouement, which is a very important part of, rolling the morale of the villains almost like literally on the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th turns when things start going bad for them or good for them, either way. Game mechanics, this is kind of the glue that just glues everything together. It's only on 2 pages. And then, this is all the life saves and healing and conditions. Then here's another skills, tests, curses. So there's that. And then the power faith is here. So I just try to condense it down to these so that you would only have a few pages to print out or whatever. That's kind of why I did it this way. I might do one where, it's more of a bigger, longer book and spread it out and bigger font and all that. I'm thinking I might do that for the 2nd edition. Just make a bigger, thick bound book like that, like those. But for now, I just wanted everything to be condensed because I was doing a PDF. Okay, so let me explain. So everything relies on the die ranks as far as getting bonuses. The only time you have a solid bonus is with traits like spirit, aggression, and those. So those are like up to +5, +6 if you really spend a lot to get that. But it's +2, +3, +4. So +5 is the most you would get. I mean, you could go beyond that, but it's expensive, like glory points. So from go to 5, say aggression +5 to +6, you need 6 glory points to buy the 6th one, and then you need 7 glory points to buy the 7th. So that's my way of making it harder and harder as you go up, and you do get up to 2 or 3 glory points a session, or could be 4 if you get a big finale. Although, anyway, okay, so a basic bless. Let's just go with bless and heal, and then once you get that understanding that, then we can go on to other things. So a basic bless would cost you 1 faith point. I want to bless you for D4, so you get a D4 bonus to you whatever you're doing. So if someone is fighting and they got a +5 to their aggression, and then now they get a D4, and then they go, well, I want to add some of my prayer to this, so they want to add their D6 to the prayer, to the fight, to the swing. So it's D6 plus D4, which makes it a D8. So they get a D8. Okay, so that's how that works. You combine them. So this is the main the best way of a blessed D4, 1 faith point. Gosh, so if a cleric had 7 faith points, so he could bless D4, once per turn, anytime during the turn or the round, whoever's turns it on, the cleric can do that. Okay, and I'm very loosey goosey about when they do it and how they do it. It's just it's really a matter of them going, oh, may God help you in this fight. That's it. That's the bless. May God help you. We are with God. You're with God. may God's will prevail. And that's it. That's the bless right there. So it only takes them a second to do it. They can do it. It's like it's a reaction thing. They can do it whenever. I generally try to keep them only one per round though. So when it goes through everybody's turns, they only get to do that. I still allow them an action too. I still allow them to do this, and then on their turn they can swing with their mace if they want. And same with heal in heal is literally the same thing. May God carry you forth. You can do it, brother. I'm here with you. It's literally like an encouragement, because vitality refers to not necessarily a wound. It refers to getting hit for sure, getting hit or feeling the pain of something. That's when you take vitality, but it's not an actual wound, because there's also wounds if you could do a nat 20. But it's not an actual wound. So in a fight, and I've done this plenty of times where I'm just exhausted, and that's really the main. Vitality is exhaustion and pain and suffering. And so when the cleric gives you a heal, they're literally giving you that second wind. They're encouraging you to fight harder and ignore the pain and continue on. And so 1 faith point to do D4. Okay, so how does it work now with expanding on that? So the way I've done this system is that you can spend more faith points to make the spell stronger, affect more. So the deliverance is the strength of it. But here, let's go through the questions. How many do you want to affect? That's called the deluge. How many? So when you want to bless, I want to bless everyone in all the missionaries, and there's 4 of you, let's say. So I'm going to say, okay, so you want to spend a D4 or a D6. That's 2 faith points to spend to do a D6. So again, it's 1 through 4 people, so it's not going to be exactly 4. So that's the fun of this, because you can still just roll a 1. So, and it's kind of when they do that, but sorry. But then when they roll a 4 or when they roll a 6, like yeah. So anyway, let's just say, how many do you want to affect? Okay, well D4. All right. So first, that's 1 faith point. How long do you want it to last? Just 1 turn. Okay, so that's free. Because those are all free for 1 turn, whatever. How strong do you want the effect? I want to give him a D6. That's 2. So now it's only 3 faith points. He has a potential of affecting 4 people, giving them a D6 bonus each for heal or bless or whatever he's doing to do. Probably bless, because when you heal, you generally heal 1 person, but so bless. So he rolls the D4. Let's just say all maxims. He gets a 4. Yay! Everybody gets it. So all 4 people get a D6 to their bless. Now I'll just add it. He wants to try to get all 4 missionaries. Duration, he wants it to last longer than 1 turn, so maybe up to 4 turns. That's another faith point. Then he wants to deliverance. He wants to do D6, so 4 faith points for that. And he rolls. Let's say he rolls maximum, so 4 missionaries. Then duration, 4 turns. Wow! And they all get a D6. So he doesn't have to roll the D6, because they all get those to each turn. So he's now blessed all of them for 4 turns at D6. So that's the fun of it. You can get really high, or you can roll a 1 when they do their blessings and heals. And protection, same thing. Protection is giving them here's the list of beginning. And let me go over here to the left. Bless, heal is here. Here's bless. Same, basically what I said. Heal is to the vitality. What's the other one that I said? Protection is again for defense. So same thing though. It rolls and gives them a really good defense. Exorcism is a drain on the villain. So this one, and it's specifically meant for possessed people. So I break down the different types of attacks that they would do on pagans. So these are for those that are possessed or unholy. So like I do evil spirits possessing skeletons. There's tales of evil spirits in the founding fathers of the church. And let's see, so what they do in this one is they do just same thing, like damage, D4 damage for D4 turns on D4 of those skeletons. So that's 3 faith points. Okay. The Holy Mace, no one's used yet, but I think one of the characters may start using it. But he gets to now add those faith points to his mace and make that mace holy. So that holy actually will add that second die, and that's good against the possessed as well, or the demonic or whatever, but also against normal. So this is a specific kind of one. Preach. So same thing. I want to deluge all the people, and they don't really need duration on that one, because it's you're just doing one moment to change their mind kind of thing. So it's not really, I don't really concern about a duration on it. If their minds have changed, then they're good to go. So he preaches to this crowd, and maybe there's 10 people, and maybe he just wants to convince half of them. That's enough to get them to calm down, and that's fine by me. I'm like, as long as he gets a close number, like he wants to deluge D6. Okay, that's 2, and he wants to do a D6 preach. So that's 4 faith points. So he rolls. Let's say he rolls a 6. Yes, 6 out of the 10. Okay, that's pretty good. I'm gonna go with that. And he rolls the preach, and then he can add his prayer to it. So instead of just a D6, he gets a D8. And so he rolls a 20. I'm like, okay, you've convinced them. They're backing off. They're considering. They're talking to each other about this faith of yours. You know what I mean? So it's that sort of thing. And it's not conversion. Preaching is not conversion. It's really meant to just calm. It's not meant to calm people down, because that's rebuke. But preach is meant to just get them to stop believing, whatever. I don't want to go into details, but it's not converting them. It's getting them to accept that. Yeah, we'll let you open a church. We'll think about it some more. It's that kind of a preach where they're not antagonistic. They're not going to start up a bad thing. They're going to just. I've considered now that if they've successfully preached to that group of the villagers, that then those villagers are going to be a safe factor in this storyline. Kind of a thing. Prophecy is just a matter of the person saying, I want to spend, and this is not during combat. This is they have to do this before, like this, during their walking, traveling, whatever, resting. They want a prophecy. So, they just get I want to spend, and this is faith points for the day, right? So they have, or for the session. I kind of make it just for the session. They get these for the session. That's much easier than for the day. Even if but if they're role playing in between missions, like they're at the church for weeks on end, repairing stuff, regrouping, healing, I generally let them, they have enough faith points to do whatever, but if they want to do a prophecy, I say just based on 1 faith points for the day, you can do it. And they might roll. I'm going to use all of them. So they use a D12 or whatever. So whatever number they roll, they could, if they were, let's say they use D12, which is 5 faith points, they do a prophecy and they get a 5. So that is now their prophecy. They get to keep that number and use and give it to somebody or themselves later on. I told you would hit them. I knew it, and you can only hold on to 1 prophecy at a time. Okay. Rebuke, that's for rebuking mobs or human enemies during combat. So, who are, and so duress is, and that's the same, it drains their vigor. It literally drains them so they become exhausted and, feeling guilt and shame. So if they got to 0, it's not that they're dying or anything. So I don't do any die saves, because there's 2 versions of getting to 0. One is through pain and suffering, and the other is through guilt and so they don't do die saves. They're just out of the fight. Surrender, flee, whatever. So what was I saying? So duress. So duress is an optional. And duress has to do with resisting. So if you were trying to rebuking minions, what you consider the lower goofy ones, they don't get a save. They'll just do the direct damage to them. So if a cleric went into, I want to do D6 of them, because there's a group of them, D6 of them, D6. So he's spending 4 of his 7 faith points in the combat or whatever. So he only got 7 faith points, but he's going for it. So he rolls, and say he rolls 3, he gets 3 of them, and he does 3 damage on all 3 of them. And you can roll separately or just 1 roll. But decide before you roll. So he does 3 damage on 3 of them. So 9 points, 9 vigor. Vigor is the same as vitality. I just use it for the bad guys, just to make life difficult. Okay. So, but duress. Say there's the cult warriors, but then there's a leader. That guy gets a resist to that rebuke. So that's called duress, and your duress is basically a 12, but the cleric can add can make it higher. So he can put like a D4 to that. So rolls a D4, rolls a 4. So now the guy has to save versus a 16. Okay. So that's just an option. You don't have to do it because they'll have to save at a 12, but of course 12 is easy to save. And they get to add their aggression or spirit to it. Generally, every resist gets to add a trait. So whether it's spirit or both, spirit or aggression. And I use both of those when it comes to things like this, because you can either go like Conan the Barbarian to resist something, or you could be like a holy man resisting it. Distance is generally free. Just if they spent 6 faith points, they can go as far as they want, or in the area. But if they're using a lot of it on deluge, then that's just in a short range. That's just in this area, But if they want to go further than that, and specifically like get that crowd way over there, I'm gonna be like, okay, but I'm 2 faith points. I just kind of you can, because it's way over there and you want to affect them. That's kind of weird. I mean, that's a long ways off. So distance is just GM's discretion. If they're spending a lot of faith points though, and they want to go get someone way over there, I think that, to me, that's fine. Not way over there, but maybe right over there. Then that's fine. They can just do it. But if it's way over there, I would ask them to 1 or 2 more faith points because of the distance. But generally speaking, most of the faith and blessings are up close or in a short range, because you're just that's the sort of the encounters that I've been having. Yeah. So what else? Let me go through the list again. Okay, so for the nun has call out. That's a defense die, and hers are generally really quick, like because she's that's it. That's call out. The other one is plea. No, don't. That's what she's doing. And so that it gives an attack penalty to whoever's attacking her, and and she can do a deluge, like spread it out amongst the villains, and then do how the deliverance is how much penalty, and then and duress to resist. But if it's minions, she doesn't have to do that. Repel makes them actually leave. They want the person feels so guilty or whatever, they want to leave. But what else? She has heal. She also has hope is basically almost like a bless, but it's just a little quicker. Then this gives oneself or an ally a die rank they can use on their next roll. It can apply to anything. It can apply to anything. So bless is more D20 rolls, but this is it can apply to anything. Ooh, that could be to glory too, or to damage. I think if I'm saying that can, I need to differentiate that one. It can apply to anything. I'm going to say including damage, yeah, because I'm very rare about including damage. So that's pretty neat for. Is that good for hope though? I could do another one that's maybe includes damage that's not hope. It's like fury. No, righteous anger. Okay. Anyway, I'll figure that out. Let me bold this so that I can see it. Okay. The paladin does have glory, which is extra combat damage. I'm very picky to not allow any bonuses to damage unless it's you upgrade it or whatever. But the paladin does have combat damage, which is pretty powerful if you sort of powerful. So that'll add an extra die rank to bonus damage if they want. Also, I do allow hindsight. If someone wants to wait and roll until after, I allow it. Also, if someone wants to affect a major villain with a rebuke and they resist, I allow them to keep the faith points of the rebuke that they, because he resisted. So there's no point. So they get to keep the rebuke. So I just allow it because mechanically maybe it's not good, but I just allow it because it's it's tenuous, it's tough. It's already a bummer that they lost those faith points because he saved for the duress. So I just allow them not to spend the rest on it. Just loosey goosey. You can play it the other way where it's all spent, or they don't get hindsight. They have to declare it and decide ahead of time. I'm just allowing it because I'm playtesting and I want to feel that out whether that's good or not. And so far it's been fine to me, and it loosens up the players too, because we're all still learning the system as well. We're all learning how to play this. So I allow that. And these are things that paladins can get, and I do allow them to pursue the other ones, like the clergy can pursue the nun ones, and the nun can pursue the clergy ones. But the way I want it to be role played. I want the nun to ask the clergy about this blessing and how they use it. Like what is your faith in that? So if they do that, I'll allow them to cross over. And the really epic one is I See an Angel. That one's epic, man. That's and you should say. Used only once per mission or session. The intent of this one is that you see an angel and you spend all the rest of your whatever faith points you have left on 3 things: attack, damage, and duration. So she only has 3 faith points left, and they're all in a dire situation. And she's all, I See an Angel. So basically, D4 for duration, how many turns the angel's going to be there. D4 for its attack bonus, so just D20 plus D4. And then D4 for damage, and it's using a sword, so the sword is D6 plus the D4, so it's going to be D6 plus D4 because it's holy, and then so it can attack. And the villains, the demons or whatever, can't do an armor save, so that's how holy this weapon is or whatever this thing. Or or she could. I don't even mind if the nun says, and the nun actually gets to play the angel. She gets to roll a dice, she gets to decide what the angel does, but the nun herself is fainted. So. It's a pretty cool. It's come out really well in some dire situations, and change the course of the event or help. But no, in one it did, and the other, and it rolled there. The angel rolled a nat 20. I'm like, oh boy, that's enough for me. The demon's out, or the possessed demon. And the other one, the angel didn't stay long and didn't help that much, and so they had to like desperately, do what they had to do. What else? Miracle of Healing is for it's kind of a loosey-goosey in the sense of it's really meant for healing the grievous wounds, the permanent wounds. So, and the nun has that ability, so she can heal that in between combat, not during combat. She can do the Miracle of Healing the big wounds, and she has to use her faith for the day points for that. So she's limited in how many wounds she can heal, and it's based on a die rank result too. She rolls the die rank number above a TR 12. So you must roll the DR. I need to put it. The nun must roll the die rank result or TRR above 12. So this is, I'm trying to finalize this for the Kickstarter too, this book. And going through this is kind of helpful like this. Okay. So that's how faith and blessings work. The woman's touch is more like feats or abilities, and these are specific to women: cleaning, details, and comeliness. I know, distraction, feigning, mothering, pans, and more. Self-defense and with compatriots, whatever help. So those are for women. A women's. This is based on my 30 years, 27ish, 28 years of marriage with my wife. I don't have those as an ability. I can do them. I just don't have them as an ability the way she does. That's a fact. Science. All right. Thanks for, I hope this was a little helpful. Please, if you have any questions, feel free to comment or whatever. But yeah. Thank you.